Good afternoon. I appreciate you guys coming to my brief in service this afternoon. Um, I recently had the opportunity to revisit some motivational theories through a class that I have been working on, and I wanted to share that information with you because I'm reminded that there's lots of really good information regarding student and each other's motivation that might come in helpful for us as we interact with our kids and as we interact with each other on every day. So, what I want to do is I want to outline and kind of summarize for you three theories that I feel like really hit home and have some relevance to our own district. And then I just want to review and give you some questions to ponder and think about how we can maybe use this information to help us work with our students. So the three particular theories that I chose, the very first one is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. My background is, of course, in school psychology, and I did a bachelor's in psychology as well. So this is kind of my passion, and I love hearing about these motivational theories because it's excellent review. I get to learn a little bit more about the theories each time I am addressed to them. And Maslow's is one that I have been learning about for many years, and I really appreciate it because I feel like the theory is one that was not ever meant to be set in stone related to the different areas that can constitute motivation for individuals, but it rather can be very flexible, and it's one that can be applied in lots of different constructs. So looking at Maslow's hierarchy, essentially we think about it as a triangle, because of course in education everything's a triangle. And we look at how we build upon that triangle. We have to have that base level in order for us to get higher and higher. So that base level is going to be those basic needs. So this is going to be food and water and shelter. The next level is safety. And that's going to be, feeling safe, feeling like there's no danger where you're at. The third level is social, so having social interaction, positive relationships. The next level is esteem, so feeling like you are noticed by individuals and you're having recognition. And the very last one, the very tip, is self-actualization. So essentially, Maslow feels as though we have to have all these base levels in order to reach that highest point, and the goal is for us to constantly, try and strive for that highest point possible. In education, we talk about these basic needs, and I think this is something that we can observe with our students on a pretty regular basis. So we notice that our students require the basic needs. So if we know they've come to school and they're hungry or they haven't slept well that night, they don't feel safe at home, then of course they're going to struggle to learn that day. But the same goes for our staff and each other as well. If we're having difficulties where we don't feel safe, we're having trouble meeting our basic needs, or quite frankly, even the social aspect, that third level where we don't feel like we have great relationships within the school, then it can affect our work ethic. Moving on to the second theory, I picked the learned needs theory. This one is from David McClelland, and basically the whole concept is that other people acquire or learn certain needs through their culture, and he breaks this down into three need areas. The first is need for achievement, the second is need for affiliation, and the third is need for power. And this I found very interesting because it kind of, as you read through it, the whole goal is that you identify where you fall, so how your own motivations fall into those three categories, and it's one where you can also think about how other people around you fall into those categories. That helps you understand their motivation. It helps you work with those individuals a little better. Just a brief summary, individuals who have a need for achievement are motivated by, achieving their goals and having feedback from that. Feeling like they're actually doing something very good and receiving lots of encouragement because of that. The affiliation individuals, these are people who desire friendly and close interpersonal relationships. So they want to volunteer their time to organizations. They want to do what they can for the greater good of the group. But they, of course, at the core, want to have that social interaction and feel needed by that group. Finally, the third one there is need for power, and that's individuals who want to be able to influence others, want to be able to take control, and change people and situations. And one of the aspects that our text talked about was that this could be for personal gain, but this can also be for organizational gain. So you can have individuals that are very driven, want to have control because they feel like they have great ideas, and they can strive to be a good leader. And we certainly see this with our students. Sometimes when we put them into groups, we have individuals who want to call the shots just so that they can call the shots, and be the leader. And then there's other people who kind of rise up to be in that leadership position because they do very well working with others, and they do have great ideas and great skills to kind of dictate to others how they can achieve the whole group's goals. The last theory was a process theory that I chose. I really wanted to pick the self-efficacy theory because I'm really fond of the information I've heard from Bandura and his work. But I chose to pick equity theory because I felt like this was maybe a little more applicable and maybe a little more obvious to us working in the schools. So this one was the equity theory, and basically it talks about how us as individuals and our students as well will constantly weigh the outputs and inputs of their work. So we all compare ourselves to other individuals, and that can either cause us to potentially be more motivated, or it can change the way that we interact and kind of make us pull back a little bit. And this whole theory talks about how we want equity. So we want to feel like our outputs and our inputs are matching what others' outputs and inputs are. I find this interesting as I read through because I feel like this one is very glaring in what I see, especially other employees occasionally doing. How sometimes we will compare ourselves to someone else, and we may make excuses sometimes for why another individual might be achieving over ourselves. I think that I especially chose this theory because I hope that we can all sort of self-reflect about what we think about with equity, and how we justify that with ourselves. Because I would certainly like to see us choose role models that are within the work environment that make us strive to want to do better, and certainly increase our inputs so that our outputs can get better. And I hope that we can just recognize and stop ourselves from doing things like not working as hard because we feel like the other person is getting more of a benefit than we are. We certainly see this with our students too. We want them to strive to do their best and not alter their work related to feelings of someone else having more say with the teacher, or feeling like they have more benefits than other students do. So overall, I talked about 3 different theories very quickly. We talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we talked about learned needs theory, and we talked about equity theory. Overall, what I want you to understand is simply, we go through our work day each day, and I want you guys to just become a little more aware of your own motivations, and what might be causing you to change those motivations. But ultimately, I'd really like for us to become aware of this and maybe observe it in our students. There's certainly ways that we can hold our students to a higher standard and try to motivate them, but it's always important to understand where they might be coming from as well, and how that might change their own work ethic and their own ability to do their best. So I appreciate you listening to me today, and I hope that this benefits us down the future. Thank you.